Hey guys, I'm Becca from Beccaboutit, and today I would like to share a very misunderstood sacred Indigenous teaching with you guys. It's a little messy here. Since the time for dressing up is upon us, and it's almost that time, I'll ask you to consider your views on whether wearing a war bonnet is something that you would wear. If so, in what context? Do your views on war bonnets represent a belief that it is a costume or a sacred tradition? And if you view it as a sacred tradition, have you yourself earned the right to wear one? And would you wear one? Do you represent the ideals and values of this sacred tradition? One of the most misunderstood teachings of the war bonnet that I want to start with first is the belief that this is a far-reaching tradition. In fact, this was a tradition really marked only by the Plains Indians. While many other tribes have adopted this symbol in modern times, it really is limited to a very few amount of tribes. I grew up on the Fort Peck Indian reservation, and that is Assiniboine and Sioux, but the war bonnet tradition really was for a lot of the Plains Indians: Cree, Blackfeet, Crow, obviously Assiniboine and Sioux, and many others. But it really wasn't actually a far, wide-reaching tradition for many tribes. Second kind of misunderstood thing about the war bonnet is it is the symbol of a chief. It's only worn by a chief. This is a warrior whose counsel was sought because his wisdom was recognized by others. He had come to terms with and was really deeply and intimately familiar with his own personal medicine. He had earned the right to wear the war bonnet because he knew how to advance himself through acts of bravery, advance his clan through counting coup, another very misunderstood teaching that I will do a video on soon. And he advanced his whole tribe or nation through providing for all of its members. The war-bonneted chiefs earned their counting coup feathers through serving the needs of the people. Every single feather meant something. And yes, the chief could tell you what every single feather represented and how he had earned it. Another little recognized tradition is that the feathers of the war bonnet are not acquired by killing eagles. The eagles are never killed. Young braves actually would set traps with live rabbits. They would tie a live rabbit to a rock crevice, and underneath that, a couple of braves would be silently waiting, and when the eagle would swoop down to come in and get his dinner, they would have to be very quick at snatching a tail or a wing feather, because obviously eagles have razor sharp talons and beaks, and they could maul the crap out of these braves. So this particular way of getting an eagle feather was pretty common, and it was one of the young man's tests of courage on the pathway to becoming a warrior. And it was actually, in fact, one way that he could advance his position in his tribe. Full eagle wings or tails, or even full carcasses, were a gift from the Eagle Nation. So when eagles were ready to drop the robe, they would call to a warrior or a medicine man in dreams or visions, and they would let that two-legged know where they were going to leave their body. So in this way, a medicine man, a medicine person or chief would have extra feathers to bestow on those who had earned the right to wear them. The eagle has been a very sacred and revered totem for a very long time. And the wing itself is divided into several categories of feathers. And I want to talk about each one of those as well, because each one of them has meaning and they're special. So the first one is the spiked tip of the wing. These are called the destiny feathers. And through reading the markings on the destiny feathers, a medicine person could tell what the warrior's future would hold. So he could see if the warrior's future would be full of joy or sorrow, if that earth walk would be a long one, or perhaps the seeker would be joining the ancestors by dropping the robe soon. If the destiny feather had a broken quill, it often meant death was to be sudden and in youth. And if the destiny feather had any markings, as with like the spotted eagle feathers, The faces or shapes that appeared within that feather kind of told the story of the person's future life events or shared with them sacred medicine allies or totems. Now, the small feathers on the cutting edge of the wing are the hopes and dreams feathers. These feathers are marked by the path of the destiny of that owner. So often a pattern or set of events could be seen in the way the feathers grew from the skin. And a trained seer could actually see and divine the meaning for the wing's owner and accurately foretell the events and challenges that life would possibly provide. For example, if the person's goals were shown in the markings of the feathers, and these were inclusive or part of the advancement of the tribe or the nation, the selflessness of the seeker could then be blessed by the grandfathers and grandmothers in spirit. Now, if a selfish person's wing showed a lot of challenges and trials and tribulations, then if they were approached in a humble manner, it could actually aid that seeker in changing their character for the better. So these were sacred medicine totems that were truly a benefit and a gift for all. You know, they were seen as sacred, potent medicine foretelling the seeker what they needed to hear so that they could be in preparation for their life. Now, the medicine tribe feathers, these are the feathers in the back of the spike tip. Now, there's only 4 of these feathers in the back of the spike tip, and these are the healing feathers that are given to the medicine people of the tribe. And so these are the ones that you often see utilized for sage. These are used to clean the sacred space around the body of a sick person. So as you can see, if you are adhering to true tradition, there's really only a few of these available for each, eagle. Eagle medicine only bestows a very small amount. The feathers used to gather negative energy or bad medicine with quick, firm strokes near a sick person's body. The spirit of the eagle can actually be felt by the patient. And I should probably talk a little bit about what eagle medicine is real quick. Eagle represents spiritual illumination and insight and clarity and big vision, big picture. It's like the gift of seeing things from a higher perspective. So eagles, when storms arise, they can actually soar higher than the storm and get above the clouds and above the rain. And so they see things from a higher perspective. So that being said, I wanted to kind of mention that being said, if the person that was ill had like if it was a psychological ailment, that person might feel a great deal better just by being feathered, because the trained medicine person could see the energy that needed to be removed and can use the healing spike feather to actually remove the negative bad energy from that body. So there you know, for all you healers. Warrior feathers. Okay. These are the tail feathers and the round tipped feathers on the underside of the wing nearest to the eagle's body. And so these are the warrior feathers. These are the ones that are added to the warbonnet. So these feathers are still, even today, used in a very sacred manner, and they're actually passed down in most tribes through to the people that carry the bloodline lineage of the chief and the chiefs of each tribe. So as medicine people train the future generations to take their place, many warrior feathers as well as healing feathers are passed down. And these are passed down to only those who honor the teachings and take responsibility for the rules that they will inherit. These are extremely sacred and important feathers. And anyone who chooses to take on these feathers, these are part of the trust given to the future generation that embodies the advancement of the tribe or the nation. And the passing of this medicine is a reminder that the tradition and the teachings will be preserved, that our way of life will be preserved and protected. So it is a huge honor, and yet it is a huge responsibility to actually be asked to be a keeper of the warrior feather. Plume feathers. Okay, plume feathers. These are from the eagle's breast. These are often tied, one plume is tied into the scalp lock of any warrior who returns from his vision quest and has completed all the rites of passage. Which reminds me, Warriors do not wear war bonnets. They wear scalp locks. Once a warrior has completed his own vision quest and found his unique personal medicine and completed all of his rites of passage, he would wear a scalp lock, not a war bonnet. So, back to the plume feathers. These special feathers are used as ornamentation sometimes and protection on a cradle board for the babies that are born. They may represent the eagle medicine that is carried in a medicine bundle. The plumes are much smaller than a full feather, and so they can, for the sake of convenience, be placed in a medicine bundle that would be taken with them, like on a Sundance or on a vision quest. And the purpose of these medicine bundles, I will do a video on medicine bundles as well, but the purpose of placing these plumes in the medicine bundle is to call upon the guidance from the eagle medicine, obviously, insight, clear vision, perspective, all those kind of things, right? Okay, the last thing I want to talk about, now that we're through all the feathers, is coup marks. Okay, these are cuts that you often see usually at the base of feathers, but it depends on how many times they've switched hands. But you often see feathers and they're nice round, and then they've got these cuts. Those are coup marks. So if a warrior feather had a coup mark on it, it was a sign that the feather had actually been taken from another brave in battle. And this was to ceremonially note the change in ownership and that the spirit of the feather now owed allegiance to the warrior who had counted coup on the other brave. And typically it was about 5 or 6 rows of the feather hairs cut from the quill. And if the feather quill had multiple cuts, it just denoted that it probably had changed hands many times. So, and also one thing is, if the quill of the feather is broken, the spirit of that feather has been released. And so it is on the other side camp. Not meaning that it's no longer useful, just that sacred medicine has passed on. So every chief has earned every type of feather, and only those warriors who had acquired enough of every feather had even the right to be chosen to be the chief and wear the war bonnet. So this was an outward sign for all of the people that this warrior had demonstrated certain qualities that would be indicative of a chief and a role model for the people, both male and female alike. War bonneted chiefs were the strength of the people. They listened to the hearts of those that they protected, and they never spoke in anger. Each eagle feather represented a lesson in the following: patience, bravery, tribal etiquette, hunting, medicine, leadership, ceremony, counting coup, and the feather protector role, which is probably one of the most sacred. They had earned every single one. The lessons gained by these chiefs included spiritual illumination, tempered by courage, and the quick action necessary for proper leadership. The war-bonneted chief showed leadership in times of battle, but he also exemplified the spiritual lessons that each feather in his war bonnet represented. The message was loud and clear that every war-bonneted chief was the holder of very powerful gifts and abilities. Each chief used the gifts that Great Mystery had bestowed upon him for the advancement of his people, and by doing so, he was worthy of wearing the war bonnet and leading his people. So there you go. Teaching of the war bonnet. You wearing one for Halloween? Is it just a costume? I'm Becca from Beccaboutit, reminding you that human ritual is spiritual technology. Don't just talk about it, be about it. Until next time.